So you're saying, okay, so first of all, we get the right executives in the room. We're talking about this idea of, understanding actually how AI works. Then after that, what do we do to make sure that to get these executives a space where they're just like, okay, you know what, we really need to, I liked what you said, redesign our process, right? Because it's not about the use cases. If you think about, so let's do it here, yes, you'll get some incremental benefits. But if you really want to, really move to the next level, to the next step, if you want to call it that, then you need to redesign the entire process. So how do we move to that step? Now we're redesigning the process.
I think that's a good question. And I think, if you look at what some of the large tech companies have been doing, there's been this debate where they create leaderboards, they make people like burn tokens, and it's like, and basically tokens is how much AI you're using. So for the readers who might not, for the listeners who might not understand. So the more AI you use, the more tokens you're burning. And, some of these companies have created leaderboards, incentivize people, and even said, like, if you're not a top AI user, we are firing you, right? They've gone to that level. And I think the first thing should be actually monitoring and evaluating AI usage. It's like, what did you do today? Right? Like, even if you just sent an email, right? What did you do today? Like, even if you just asked us to review a report, even if you just asked a very basic question, like there needs to be some kind of monitoring of AI usage across the organization, right? All the way from the CEO all the way down to the whatever person. Like this needs to be like a HR learning and development thing. Because as all of us know, you yourself, myself, AI usage begets more AI usage. Once you understand, like, hey, I can actually ask this thing, and it gives me this answer, then it creates connections in your brains. Next time you're asking for movie recommendations. Next time you're asking about this, it just continues like that. And you start forming those connections in your head. I think that's the first thing that needs to happen. Are people forming connections in their head? Because I think for many people, they've just not used it. It's like, I'm not going to use it, right? This thing is a fad. I was speaking to someone who's like, I thought this thing was for professionals. I was like, what do you mean? Like, there's no professionals here, And once I taught him how to use it, all of a sudden now he's becoming an AI power user. So, I think using and enforcing usage and scaling usage where you say, like, guys, we have a retreat in a month. I want everyone, and this is at ESCO level, I want everyone to come and present their AI project. What did you build with AI? If you build like a thing that evaluates presentations, just make people use it, and that will now start that, it'll plant that seed of like possibilities that you get once you use the AI.
Yeah. No, and I like that, just forcing people to just work on a project and to present that to see what comes out of that. So, in our organization, one thing we did is that I we had learning Fridays, and I think for almost a month, I was teaching the team how to use AI. So, and I was not teaching really, because I was just showcasing what I was doing with AI.
Yeah.
And that was probably the most impactful. And I remember one of the most impactful experiences we had was using NotebookLM, where I showed them how you can just take NotebookLM, take a huge document and create a podcast out of that, a presentation and so forth. And everybody was like, now I'm sold, because all of a sudden then the use cases started coming out. I was like, oh, I didn't know I could do that and so forth. So